Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Boxes of Comics. This episode will go over what 5 things stood out to me the most in Doctor Strange 2, and how I think it changes the character along with the rest of the MCU. This video will contain spoilers from the movie, so if you haven't watched it yet, turn away now. But if you've seen it 3 times like me, then this is the video for you. And we'll be back right after this. So welcome back. Like I said, we're going to be reviewing what things from Doctor Strange 2, Multiverse of Madness, I enjoyed as I watched this movie. So, starting with number 1, the first thing that stood out to me in this movie was that Phase 4 really minimizes the Avengers, with the exception of being in after-credit scenes and saying, WandaVision is a great example because you have this entire town and just Wanda's enslaved and Sword doesn't call an Avenger to help. And to me, that's just kind of weird and that doesn't seem right. So in Doctor Strange, this problem I thought was fixed or at least changed when Strange battles the octopus at the beginning of the movie. There's enough damage going on that Wong, another hero, even though it's from the same franchise, but he shows up from minding his own business and helps Doctor Strange. I think it's a simple yet necessary thing to do, and for some reason, Marvel doesn't understand that because, if an entire town is enslaved, like WandaVision, then wouldn't one of the Avengers know or, be contacted? Wouldn't Nick Fury be contacted from Sword? I don't know. It's just, so simple, yet they don't care or they don't acknowledge it. It's kind of weird. So, moving on to number 2, there's another important thing that stood out to me, which was when Doctor Strange met Wanda for the first time in the movie. I thought that scene really sped up the movie and the pace and was only a tad bit in the right, I guess you could say, for mentioning Westview, which was in WandaVision. But nothing more was mentioned as a follow-up, which was pretty interesting and seemed weird to me because it was touched upon in that first scene when Doctor Strange is going to Wanda for help, and then he realizes that Wanda sent the Gargantos after America Chavez, and it was just kind of weird, and I thought that because that scene happened, it tended to speed up the pace of the movie. Does that make sense? Number 3 was the audience, I guess, the audience didn't learn how America Chavez got her power. It only learned about the first time she actually used it. To me, if a character is trying to be cared for by the audience, I need an origin story of her powers, not necessarily an origin story of when she loses her parents. So hopefully that gets explored in maybe future movies or a TV show. I don't know, but it just seemed off to me that it only showed her the first time that she used her powers, not necessarily how she got her powers. And it was hard for me, and I'm sure for maybe some other people too, to go ahead and recognize that and kind of feel for her in a way. So that was number 3 that stood out to me. Number 4 was the Illuminati versus Wanda battle. A couple questions I had were why don't the Illuminati call in the Avengers, X-Men, or any other groups / heroes in that universe of 838 and try to take on themselves? Because I understand that the Illuminati is supposed to be the big bad and they're supposed to be the most powerful of powerful heroes. But when Reed Richards, the smartest man in that universe, turns into spaghetti, you'd think that they'd go ahead and call Iron Man in that universe or call Wolverine. It seemed off, and it really stood out, as there are obviously more heroes in that world, but no one seemed to call in Tom Cruise's Iron Man or Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, like I said. And along with the Illuminati, a nice Easter egg was John Krasinski's entrance as Mr. Fantastic. Because when he's being introduced, he uses a teleporter, and it's the same teleporter, just a different color, that King the Conqueror variant used in the Loki TV show. And that was pretty interesting to make sense, because they're related in the comics, so I'm sure they'll be related in the MCU. So that was a really nice Easter egg. But just seemed off to me, that little tidbit. So moving on with the last thing, the fifth and final thing that stood out to me as I watched the Doctor Strange sequel was that if Doctor Strange can make a world forget who Spider-Man was, like, couldn't he make Wanda forget that she had kids, or that, like, the multiverse exists? Like, can't he just think of that same spell? There are a couple, like, plot holes that I could think of, and it's like, maybe for instance, for the plot holes, just maybe Doctor Strange is powerful enough for, like, certain superheroes, but when it comes to magical superheroes, he can't just wipe away their memory because they're still so powerful, and so that's why he couldn't wipe Wanda's, like, memory. Not sure, but that was just my thinking. And even if Doctor Strange doesn't have the time stone anymore to stop Wanda from looking for her kids, wouldn't there be a spell for that? Because I understand that the Mind Stone got, like, destroyed in Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, but, like, there's got to be more spells to complicate that, or, like, replace the Infinity Stone. It's just, like, simple things like that. Kind of like a question where, well, if Professor X can move things with his mind, why can't he move his legs with his mind? Kind of that sort of questioning. And I think it just defeats the point of the fantasy realm of superhero movies, and maybe that's why. But yeah, these were my 5 items in Doctor Strange 2 that stood out to me. Let me know what stood out to you when you were watching the movie, and did you go see it 3 times, or maybe just once? Did you like it more, or did you dislike it than the first Doctor Strange movie? Because it felt different to me when I was watching it, especially that first time. It didn't seem like a true Marvel movie, but I wasn't sure if that was because it was the story being told, or maybe it's like Sam Raimi's direction of the character. Kind of iffy, but after watching it 3 times, it kind of grew on me, and I felt like I understood the story a bit more, and kind of understood why Marvel did that story the way they did. And it's interesting too, because I also thought towards the end of the movie it really set up Doctor Strange 3 along with some next Avengers film, whether that's Secret Wars or something else. Because I know King the Conqueror is the next big bad, but it's just, I don't know, it just felt different. It didn't feel like a Marvel movie to me. So that's my review of the 5 things that stood out to me. Make sure that you like and subscribe to this channel, and I will see you next time on Boxes of Comics. And yeah, that's all the time that we have today, but make sure you like and subscribe for more comic book content, and check out our other videos that we have as well. So have a good rest of your day, and we will see you next time on Boxes of Comics.